All right. All right. How we doing? My screen glitched out. I didn't know if I was live or not for a second there. How's everybody doing? We're raining here. We got like a week straight worth of rain. How you doing, Metal? It says last Panthers season should have been called Claws the Revenge. This time it's personal. Oh, that was a terrible movie. It was a terrible. I like the original Jaws and Jaws 3. Not a huge fan of Jaws 2. It was just a repeat of Jaws without Hooper and Quint. Hey, Jackson. Hey, JC. How you guys doing? I got good afternoon and good morning. I think I'm late, so I think it is afternoon. So, um, I don't know if this is going to be a thing or not. I don't know if this is going to be a thing, but I know in the last few videos, not the podcast, in the last few videos, I've talked about how lucky the Panthers have been health wise, and so far, we got a couple of dings going on. Let me blow up the chat here so I can see what you guys are saying. Jackson says that I hear about the hurricane coming to Florida, and JC, yeah, it's still morning time for you guys, right? Um, I've seen the forecast track. I guess it's gonna like kind of go to the west coast of Florida a little bit there, but of course, being here in Maryland, it doesn't look like it's gonna be much of a storm though, right? Last thing I saw was like just barely gonna be like a Category 1 storm. I think when it hit. Hey, Colin. But yeah, so couple of injuries we're dealing with. Sam Miskevich still not out there as of yesterday in terms of in full contact. It looks like Nosek is going to miss probably the beginning of the season. So, Maurice is trying to play coy there a little bit, but we're probably going to miss Nosek for the first week or two, maybe even. And then I guess Sordiff went into the boards yesterday. So I haven't heard anything about him, but that's the opposite of what we were used to last year in terms of injuries. That's for sure. So they're saying Category 3 or 4. Jeez. Okay, that's not good. That's different than a measly Category 1. Category 1 is like an afternoon sun shower. Bolvar says, I'm in morning mind fog. This will help and do wonders on my ability now to make a decision about what to eat for dinner. That's true. That's true. Colin and I got to get to the gym when we're done here, and I got to go to the grocery store. So I guess I'll pick up some steaks. JC wants to know who is the third and fourth line. Well, the third line is supposed to be Lundell, Luosterainen, and Sam Miskevich. Sam Miskevich has got an injury right now, a minor upper body injury. The way that Maurice is handling him and talking about him, I believe that that job is all but his because he's not rushing Sam Miskevich back. He's saying, I want to make sure that he's 100% healthy. So that to me says he's not too worried about it. He kind of feels like Sam Miskevich is going to have that job. The fourth line, Nosek is supposed to be the center. And then it could be Greer with Boquist. It could be Lockwood with Gadjevich. Gadjevich I kind of feel like he should have one of those two spots. I think you're going to see a lot of rotation on that fourth line. But for now, Nosek is out and probably will miss some time at the beginning of the season. So you might see Zach Dalpe actually center that line. Remember, he's still on the roster. So like I said in the season preview, we've got about 100 fourth line guys, which is fine. We've got depth. So there's that. Colin says, apparently the Panthers are doing some power play work. First power play was Barkov, Swaggy, Kachuk, Reinhart, and Boquist. Yeah, that sounds about right. that's pretty much what last year's would have been, right? The first power play. Obviously not Boquist, but that would have been to start the season. That would have been OEL. So I think that's about right. I'm curious to see who the second unit's going to be. And he doesn't play the second unit a whole lot, right? A lot of times, second unit gets out there just 20 seconds left. They got one rush up the ice. Metal says Sam Skevich should be good for opening night. Yeah, I believe so. Maurice is not talking. He's not saying he needs to get back out there. The way he's handling it is like a veteran player. I know he's not a veteran player, but I just get that vibe from Maurice that he's not worried about him, and that whatever bumps in the road there's going to be there in terms of his development. It sounds like, my impression is, they're going to give him every opportunity to take that third spot and keep it. Kenneth says if Panthers want to get bigger and fill that hole, Phil Kessel is available. I think we got enough guys, but you never know. Kessel's, that name is out there at the end of every season, right? Hey, Matthew G, how you doing? Yeah, it's been a while. I know you guys are ready to say hi to Kyle, but he's not. He woke up this morning. He's got a tooth thing going on now. Which, by the way, tonight's game, as far as I know, is not on ESPN Plus and is only going to be streamed on the Tampa Bay Lightning website. Now, I have somebody else that told me that it's not going to be available for stream outside of the state of Florida, but I don't think it's on ESPN. So if I can't watch the game, I can't do a recap. So I'll you guys know how it goes in the preseason. I'll fire up the laptop when the game's supposed to start, and maybe I'll see it, maybe I won't. So there's that. The preseason recaps are not the same as the regular season recaps anyway, right? So I have started work on this year's fight song. The song stays the same, but last year the Verhaeghe overtime to start. This year it's a little bit different. We changed it. We got some new material, so I've been working on that. The only thing that stays the same, no matter what, with that video is the center section with the dogs in the snow, and of course, Kermit going across the screen. Matthew Metal says everything broke. No, it's not that one. It's not that one. I forgot about that one. Maybe that'll be the end. That'll be the end. We'll see. Matthew Jean. So he has a question for the season. Can we still view the games on Bally's, or is it something new? Yeah, it is all sorts of new. I'm going to try to recite this all from memory. If you live there down in South Florida, it's channel 39. I believe it's called Scripps, Scripps. I believe that's it. You have to check your local cable company. Well, they say it's channel 39 over the air, so I don't even know if that means if you're old style with the rabbit ears. I don't know the specifics, but I know it's not on Bally's anymore. If you want to stream the games and you live down in Florida, the Panthers just introduced an app. I think it's called Panthers Plus. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the details because I don't live in Florida. For me to watch the games outside of Florida, that's going to be ESPN Plus. But I also have to keep the DirecTV subscription because the games that are nationally televised will not be on ESPN Plus, as far as I know. I always like to have a backup because I've learned not to trust things. You learn to think it's supposed to be on this channel and then it's not, and then you need this streaming service, and the game is starting, and you're signing up for a streaming service. So as far as I know, if you live in Florida, Channel 39, it's on Scripps, but also the Panthers will have, I think it was $69 for the year. It's not free. It's not free. I think it's $69 for the year. Boulevard says Vegas created a streaming service now. All the other teams are doing it. Leave it to Vegas, right, to give a positive revenue stream to copy. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Vincent. Hello, Mr. Chicken Hanger. That's a true story, man. If you wonder what Vincent is talking about, there's links in the description to the exclusively male channel. It's a men's support channel, but it's kind of taken a turn to where I tell my stories and stuff over there. And so, yeah, the story that Vincent is referring to, I won't give it all away here, but the job I had before I found eBay was hanging chickens at Purdue Chicken in Accomack County. I believe it's Accomack County on the eastern shore of Virginia. So, yeah, for those of you who like to listen to the old podcast where I'd sit outside with the dogs and tell stories sometimes, those stories are now in depth in what does Mr. Baldwin say? Well, they're in story format. I forget what he says. I like Mr. Baldwin. He's a good dude. But I'm not on camera, so that's a bonus. That's a bonus on those videos. And that way I can record wherever I am, however I feel. You know what I mean? So a lot of times I'm outside 4 o'clock in the morning because that's when I wake up apparently now. Thank you, Fluffy and Ellie, for that. That's it. Since Fluffy completely rewired my sleep cycle, I can't get back to normal. Yeah, well, this story time with Jaws is always fun. Yeah, these are the stories, but now they're fleshed out to be like 45 minutes long and whatnot. So it's I'm working on something where in this area, I'm actually going to be doing local shows. I'm actually going to be doing some local shows, like a one-man type of, not exactly stand-up, but like stories, comedy, audience interaction. So that's in the works right now. So that's one of the things that could be good income for me that will help me be able to stick around with this channel and not worry so much about the money. Hey, Sybil. So Kenneth is saying in Canada, you can get any U.S. team pretty cheap you want. Canadian teams, it can be harder. Yeah, in terms of TV, it's just different everywhere now. It's I don't like it. I don't like it. And plus, it's harder on my internet now because I got to stream ESPN Plus and we stream to you guys. So far, the internet's been pretty good. It took, you guys know the problems we were having at the end of last year. It took me like 5 guys coming out this summer before finally one guy knew what it was. Metal says, do I think the Panthers would ever retire number 5? I think if any of them get retired, Barkov, because I was going to say Bobrovsky, but he wasn't drafted here. I think Barkov could almost be a for sure certain thing. Ekblad, if he stays with us his whole career and we win another cup or 3, I could see that. But I think Barkov at this point, given his contract, he's probably already a career Panther. And I would think that Barkov's number might get it. We don't have any guys, I don't think. So you don't want to go overboard. But at the same time, it'd be nice to have a couple of jerseys that are retired up in the rafters. Now, tonight's game, like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch it. And in terms of what the lineup is going to be, it doesn't sound like we're going to have a whole lot of starters out there. I think Drieger's supposed to start at goalie with Cooper Black I was going to call him Cooper Cup. That's football. I think Rieger starts with Cooper Black coming in after him. So it's really not going to be a whole lot that we can take from tonight's game. Let's see. Vincent says, "Now the intro song, have you considered muffling it a little bit? I don't mean nothing, but it might be a little bit too loud and scare some people away." I mean, I haven't had that comment, right? I could maybe, what I would have to do, and I could do it a little bit, is I could have it come in not as boom, you know what I mean? I can have that first drum beat not as loud. It's different. Everybody has a different device. So what you guys hear, and I'm half deaf anyway. And it kind of depends on because when I produce the video, I produce it all as one file, and so the song will take on the profile of that day's videos and that day's sound. So sometimes, actually a lot of times, how it sounds to me when I'm producing it, and then how it sounds on YouTube, and that's a normal thing. It's completely different how it sounds when we're working with it in the editor versus by the time it gets to YouTube. But then that can happen. It's like with the commercials when the ads come in and you're watching a video at a nice, you're watching a video at a nice level, and the ad comes in and you're like, holy crap, and it scares the hell out of you. I could work on tweaking the beginning of that if anybody else thought that might be something. Colin says, would Kachuk's number be retired? I don't think so. I don't think so. I kind of think you're going to reserve the retired jerseys for guys we drafted and they stayed here the whole time. I would think, right? But you don't know. If we win 5 cups in a row, they're all getting retired, right? Right? Ask me after we've won our 3rd cup, and we'll see about that. But I kind of feel if any of them would be retired, it would be Barkov. Right? I think that would be the one to go with. Bobrovsky played too many years in Columbus. I don't know that you'd want to do that. And we know Beezer's 34 didn't get retired, but he didn't win a cup, right? So Bobrovsky, again, if we win 5, right? If you know what I mean, it could happen. And Aaron Ektra. See, now I'm not trying to be mean to Aaron already, right? I'm gonna get on Aaron's good side. He's gonna be the one that's gonna bring me the cup. See, because he's got a plane now. He sold the boat and he's got a plane. So that's my plan. Is I'm gonna make friends with Ekblad, and he's gonna fly the cup up to me, right? Retire 47 for. I don't know. You know who? Who's 47, or are you thinking 74? Did you transpose the numbers and mean 74? You got me looking it up now. Yeah, no, I don't think we're retiring 47. I think you mean 74, Metal. Yeah, okay. All right. You got me confused. When you get to be my age and you don't remember something or you're not sure about something, you instantly blame yourself first. You know what I mean? So 74. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, he's there. Yeah, right there. I got his signature. Oh, well, you're going to get me started again. Spaceman said, hold on a second. He said, we lost to Canada. Would we see Kachuk be compared to Josh Allen? It's a good point. But we didn't. We didn't, right? I think the Bills might win the whole thing this year. I think I think the Bills kind of remind me of the Panthers at this point, where they're kind of like, I think we've had enough of this bull crap, a losing. I think they're going to win the whole thing. Civil says, what if we convince Bennett to sign for 2x8 by giving him infinite free hoagies and a free pool and infinite trips to Disney World? Oh, I got to get back into that groove again a little bit. Yeah, it's, it's doing the skits when there's not a whole lot going on in the sport, right? But once I hit my stride, once I get into a groove, think things will even out a little bit, or normalize a little bit is what I should say. Sybil says the Bills remind you of the Canes, huh? I don't know, man. I mean, they've been wiping the floor with people lately, right? We'll find out. Let's put it this way. If they lose again, your analogy is correct. If they finally win again, then mine, you know what I mean? I think this is kind of their make or break year. Spaceman says, sadly, it's going to be the Chiefs with Taylor Swift's money. Are they still, is that still a thing? Incorrigible says the NFL has gone by the wayside with Vegas officiating crews in every game. Yeah, it's tough to watch some of these games. Some of the games, some of the calls. It's very tough to watch. Hey, Hungry Xenomorph, how you doing? We're doing good. It's raining. It's schmutzing. We got like a week straight of rain. But then I think next Thursday we finally get like normal good temperatures, like high as 69, lower like 52. That's what I'm talking about. That's what Colin and I are waiting for. We got a few places we're going to head in terms of taking the kayaks out and going on some hikes and everything. We're just waiting for the humidity to go away because, the knees, the old knees and the old hips when this humidity hits is not pleasant. Civil says if the Bills get shut out in game 3 of the playoffs, give me your flowers. Yeah. That's true. Game 3 of the playoffs. That's the AFC Championship game. Boy, I don't think their fan base could handle that again. If they lost another AFC Championship game, I don't think anybody can handle it again. If Kansas City was to win, I mean, forget about the election, forget about all of that. The real evil is the Kansas City Chiefs. That's what we need to be concerned about. Spaceman says, FYI, I would never be a Bills fan. It'd be the worst than being a Cats fan before this year. I tell you, it was tough. That was a long time to wait, especially, you get to Vegas and you lose, and it's like, all right, and you get all the way back, and you got a 3-0 lead, and all of a sudden you're in game 7 and you're just like, this can't happen. It just can't happen at all. Jameson says we got our first glimpse of Montour in a Kraken jersey last night. He looked good. Best of luck to him. Yeah, it is what it is, was what it was. There's only so many guys you can keep, right? Didn't somebody else go to Seattle? Or is that the 2 guys that went to Toronto? There was another team. Oh no, it was Calgary. Was it Calgary? I know Lomberg went there. There was another team I thought where 2 of our guys went to. And won't that be weird? Won't that be Mahura? Okay, yeah. Thank you, Jen. Won't that be weird though? Opening day, no Ryan Lomberg out there. That's been a couple of minutes. Just it's gonna be a little bit strange, that 4th line, especially if Nosek, not that Nosek was on the team, but 4th line is gonna be all guys that, well, Zach Dalpe has contributed, so there's that. Spaceman wasn't a fan of Mahura. Yeah, he looked good his first year, but he did not look all that good last year. And Corrible Goat Slayer says, Senor Jaws, if you can make one trade from the Cats for another player, who would it be and why? I would part with Bennett and bring in Domi. Loved his dad with Toronto, and he's got that dog in him. So I got to take one guy off of the Panthers and bring in another guy. Well, if it was a 1-for-1 deal, my deal would never go through, because mine would be Bennett for Brady Kachuk, but that's not going to get it done. The Bennett thing is going to be interesting in terms of, like we talked about, his money and the health and all of that. Of course, I'd trade Ekblad for Brady. I mean, if you want to go Bennett and Ekblad for Brady Kachuk, I would consider doing that, because it's not my money. Dylan says, I wanted to watch the Leafs game last night for Stolars and OEL, but couldn't see it. I saw the Rangers last night, and that was a fun game. Yeah, I haven't watched anything yet, but hopefully that'll change tonight. Craig says, no Cousins, Lomberg, Montour. Seems like the Cats wanted a more serious locker room. Hadn't thought of it that way, but you're not wrong. I mean, I think it's just kind of attrition, natural attrition. You know what I mean? But that's a good point. That is a good point, Craig. That's a good point. Who would be the personality now? Right? I mean, I guess Chucky and kind of Bennett. I'm thinking. I don't know the personality of the fourth line guys all that much. Gadjevich seems like he's a fun guy. Colin says Ekblad for Cale Makar. Don't we all wish, right? Yeah, Vincent, good call. When I saw his Vincent says Schmidt seems like a funny guy. When I saw his press conference, you know, when he talked to George and everything, that's actually a good call. He seems like he's got a bit of personality there. Do we have anybody left with Flo? You know, with the hair at Lomberg, every fight he'd get in, he'd take his hat off. And do we have anybody left with hair? I know Gadjevich has got like a golden beard. I'm trying to think. I mean, I guess if Chucky wanted to grow his hair long, let's get Chucky to grow his hair long. Hungry says his cousin's the most hated player in the NHL now that he is in Ottawa. Won't that be interesting, right? It'll be very interesting to see the Canadian media marketplace reporting on him now that he's in Canada. Dylan says Bobby with the hair. That's well, he cut it off now. He cuts it, you know, he grows it long and cuts it. Right now it's cut. That's another good point. Jameson says Nate Schmidt will keep the room loose. All right, so that's good. But that is a lot of personality we've lost over a couple of years if you throw in Gudas, right? If you throw in Gudas. Vincent says Kulikov didn't cut his hair all summer. That's nice. I wish I had hair to not cut. Well, I do. It's missing some parts. All right, so we got Schmidt. We got Chucky. I mean, like I said, we don't know the fourth line guys. What about the defensive guys? Ekblad seems like he's kind of serious all the time, right? Don't really know the personality of some of the other guys, which kind of means they're probably, oh, yeah. Silva's talking about Erod, maybe Samoskevich, depending on what he's like. All right. Yeah, I'll still miss Lomberg with his hair. I'll still miss Lomberg going out there pumping up the crowd. And remember we had the year before with the hair, I think it was Mark Stahl had his hair pretty long too, right? I think Chucky would look good with the flow. Looks like he'd just be curly cued all over the place. And hey, Barkov, I'm not saying he's like going to be Mr. Personality, but he has loosened up. He definitely has loosened up. So that's a good thing. And I suppose that if the room is short of any levity, that Maurice in his dry style can help that out too. Sybil says Erod seems goofy. I don't know why, but he seems really goofy to me, not in a disrespectful way. I get what you're saying. He doesn't seem like a guy that takes himself too seriously. And you see that on the ice, right? He don't care. He's like, I'm getting paid to play hockey. Wherever you slot him in, he's just excited to be out there and happy. So yeah, it's a good point. We should be okay. Corrigible says Barkov is our Yager. He jokes like him also. He's just not very outspoken to the media. That's true. Yeah, it's a good point. If Barkov let his hair grow out, they would probably take his dry sense of humor a little bit. The jokes would land a little bit more. Apparently, Kyle says this is going to be the last year that Yager plays professionally. He says he's still playing over there. Is it in Russia? I think he is. He's still playing in his hometown, the hometown team that he's like part owner in. But apparently this is supposed to be the last year that he's going to do that. He's my age. We're the same age. When he was playing for us, I would point at the TV and I'd say, that's where my hair went. That was what my hair did when I grew it long. It just had that wave and curl to it. And he stole my hair. Czech. Yeah, not Russia. Okay, yeah, thanks. Yeah. You scored the other day too? Nice. Spaceman says it was funny to see Boston fans throw beers on the ice in game 3 of round 2. Yeah, that was the second bad game in a row that they had. It was understandable because they beat us game 1, right? I believe, and then we won 2 and 3 and 4, and then I think they won 5 and we won 6. I think that's how it went. It might have been how it went. I don't remember. We won the cup. That's what I remember. Yeah, Yager's the underrated longevity GOAT. Yeah, I can't find my Yager wig. I got to buy another one too. Like the first year of the channel doing the skits, I'm looking up in my hanging closet here. I had a nice Yager wig, and I don't know what happened. I have everything else. I have all the other wigs. I have all of the costumes everywhere. It's scattered, but I have it all. But I have a feeling maybe Matthias used to like to take things and hide them and not tell me. So he might have hid it somewhere where it never was found again. Jackson says, what if we continue the eliminate the President's Trophy winner streak? That's a nice one. Who would be the President's Trophy winner in the East? Rangers? Well, we already did that. It has to be a different team. It's Boston again? Could Toronto do it? That's really the options, right? I mean, I think it's a bit of a stretch to think the Devils would. Incorrigible says, I'm hoping Boston shits the bed with the whole Swayman situation and ends up holding a sausage in their hands. I mean, on one hand, I can't imagine how they could lose him. But on the other hand, I can't imagine how they traded Omar without at least having the framework of an idea to how much they were going to pay him. Like Swayman, are we talking like 7 or 8? Yeah, 7 or 8, we'll get it done. Okay, you trade Omar. Right? Now, we don't know, though. We don't know. Like, what if it was like, hey, Sway, 7 or 8? And he's like, yeah, we'll work it out. And then they traded Omar, and Omar was like, oh, you traded Omar? Or Swayman suddenly said, well, I want 10 now. We don't know, right? Yeah, exactly, Hungry. Vincent says, who eliminates Toronto if not Boston? That's a good point. Right? Yeah. Well, if we were the wild card, no, that wouldn't work. I see. You're right. It would have to be somebody else. It would have to be Toronto winning the President's Trophy, Florida, Boston, Tampa, and then Toronto beating Tampa, we beat Boston, and then we beat Toronto, who had won the President's Trophy. I think that's how it would have to go there, right? Or unless Tampa doesn't do it and somebody else comes up. Ottawa, who knows? Look, I mean, Ottawa's got Omar now. Ottawa may not be, terrible. Incorrigible says, should have locked up Swayman even when considering offloading Omar. Bad decisions on their part unless they want Swayman to price himself out and they just roll with a cheap tender before the playoffs. Well, I brought that kind of a suggestion to Low Quality Bruins fans, and basically what he said was because Swayman's an RFA and the way they had the cap situation, they could not sign Swayman to his deal while still having Omar on the roster. They didn't have the cap for it. But you still should have made sure that you were in the same ballpark as Swayman. Like, I don't understand. He must have changed his mind. Like, how there's no way an NHL GM was so incompetent that they traded Omar first without talking to Swayman and getting an idea if they were close. I find that very difficult to believe that they would have traded Omar without having had conversations with Swayman first. So the only thing that I can think of is they traded Omar and then Swayman said, all right, I think I want more than what we just talked about. I mean, that sounds like a shitty thing to do, but either the Boston GM is just an idiot or Swayman's agent kind of convinced them, they just lost all their bargaining chips. Very difficult to see how that all went down either way. Either way. Incorrigible says Toronto and Detroit are the beneficiaries from our last two cup runs. Yeah, Detroit might step up, but remember, we thought it was going to be a couple of teams last year too, right? There's been a few teams. People kind of thought Buffalo. Some people thought Ottawa. Look what happened to the Devils last year. A lot of those teams, Detroit, Buffalo, Ottawa, the Devils, they're what the Panthers were before we became what we are now. I mean, how many years did we just barely make or miss the playoffs, right? Even in the bad years of this channel, it was still, 96 points and still not getting in, right? So we weren't bad enough to just flush it down the toilet, but it took us a while to get over that hump to where, now it's not even about making the playoffs every year. It's about, are we going to win the cup again this year? It took us, what's this, my 9th season, and we've expected to make the playoffs now, what, about 4 years in a row, where we're going to make the playoffs. And it took us a while to get over that hump that all these other teams are at right now. Because when you're at that level, you've got the good young talent. It looks like it could develop, but you still have to learn how to beat. You have to learn how to beat what we had to do. We had to learn how to beat Tampa, learn how to beat Boston, right? You have to learn how to beat these teams. Remember, the Canes used to kick our ass all the time. So I think it's you can look on paper and they've got good talent and you expect them to step up, like you said, but it's can they beat the teams in their division? And that's where the teams that are in the Atlantic that are trying to get over that hump are screwed. Because how would you like it if half of your division schedule was Florida, Boston, Toronto, and Tampa? And I know Tampa's not what they once were, but that's the worst of the four is the Lightning with Vasilevsky. So, it's a brutal division to try to basically to make the playoffs. You've got to be better than one of those four teams. And we thought Boston was going to fall off. That didn't happen. People think Tampa might fall off. It's kind of a question mark there. I put them in the same category as, the Patriots when they were winning and all of that. It's like when they go away, that's when I'll say that they're gone. But I mean, they're still making the playoffs. They're still, if you played Tampa Bay against any of these bubble playoff teams, you're going to favor Tampa Bay, right? Pittsburgh, Detroit, Buffalo, Islanders, any of those teams that are, on that bubble, I would still pick Tampa Bay to win that series. Sybil says, who's going to be the first Panther to hit the gritty? Yeah, I can't stand it. I hope nobody does it. I honestly hope nobody does it. I think if anybody that was going to do it, it would have been Lomberg. Hungry Xenomorph, how many years does Vasilevsky have left on his contract? That's a good question. Let me look that up. Let's look that up here real quick. Let's see. He's through 2027. So 25, 26, 27. So this one and two more seasons. So that's what he's got. Vincent says Swayman kind of started negotiating in public, so it's not a healthy situation anyway. Not just bad behavior like Reinhardt. Right. Yeah, that whole podcast where he said the whole thing about, I don't know, it sounds to me like maybe he's getting bad advice from his agent. He's just, I understand, like I said, I understand what Swayman is saying about being the up-and-coming goaltender and not wanting to ruin it for the guys behind him. But he's elevating himself to a position that he has not quite earned yet. Almost, probably, should those words apply. But he hasn't quite earned that status yet. He hasn't even played 1 year of being, I'm the number one starter, give me my 50 starts, 50, 55 starts. I mean, Vasilevsky, right? Vasilevsky making $9.5 million a year, right? And just the number of games that he plays. Yes, except the cookies. The last several years, 52, 60, 63. There's another season, 65, 53, 52. So I think Swayman's never even started 40 games. I think the most he got was 39. So putting himself in that category financially, it's not yet. Nick says, disappointed with tonight's roster. I was hoping to go see Nider in Orlando tonight. Yeah, we got several preseason games against the Lightning. And so for whatever reason, they chose tonight to go really, really, really light. I mean, I know it's just Drieger and Cooper Black and I think one other guy, the other like fifth goaltender, I forget his name. But yeah, it would kind of be nice to know, I mean, for you all that buy tickets, it's kind of hard for the coaches to really give the rosters up in advance. I don't think the coaches and all of that, I don't think they're all real huge fans of the preseason. You know what I mean, in terms of having to play the games and fans paying for the tickets and all that. Is it all full price, by the way? Like for the preseason games, so the tickets full price and the parking's full price. I mean, I know the food would be, but is it like regular season prices, or do they discount it for preseason at all? I assume for season ticket holders, you get the preseason with your season tickets. I would assume, but I don't know. I don't know. I was kind of hoping we'd at least got, you know, I mean, I guess I do want to see how Drieger looks. There's no shame in that. I do want to see how he looks. I know everybody said Spencer Knight looked really good the other night, so that's good. Nick says, as far as this expedition game goes, tickets average $50, so maybe more than a home game, but less than a regular season game. Gotcha. Okay. That's still a lot of money to pay for not a full roster. Yeah. Well, that's what pays the guys' salaries, right? That's, you know, at least it's not football, right? At least it's not football where it's just like, I mean, the irony of what the whole Swayman thing is over. Like, is he going to get 7, 8, 9? Is he worth 10? Right? And then you look at football and you got quarterbacks getting $50, $60 million a year. And like in football, like if one dude makes 53 million and the other dude makes 56, it's like, yeah, they're getting paid about the same. But in hockey, the difference between 6 and 9 is it's still the same $3 million, but now that's something you sit out for, and it becomes a whole thing, right? So, you know, I don't know how much the cap is going to go up, and that's the other thing. He's trying to change the narrative of the cap, and this is something that Dale Talon tried to do a couple of times, and it worked with who'd it work with? Kind of worked with Barkov a little bit with Ekblad, but he did it really with Matheson, where he was trying to buy high now. He tried to structure the contract to where we're overpaying a little bit now, but then we're going to be getting a bargain, you know, years 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it is. You know, he's trying to structure his contract based on the assumption that the cap is going to go up. And I just don't see any teams I don't see any teams wanting to buy into that narrative because that's a bottomless pit, right? If they start giving contracts based on what the guys think the cap's going to be in 2 or 3 years, then everybody's going to want that. And then it's all relative anyway. So that's going to be a real interesting thing to see how that all shakes out. Colin says, Hall knows, that's all. Vincent says, Soros 7.7, Hellebuck 8.5. He's out of his mind. Right. I mean, look, like I said in that video, there's 2 guys in the league that are worth $10 million, and they both have Stanley Cups. And Vasilevsky don't even get the $10 million. He gets 9.5, right? And that's it. You know, if Soros or Hellebuck were to get a new contract now, you know, maybe you can see 10 with those guys. But we'll have to see. All right, guys. I'm going to bolt a little bit early today. My voice is cracking out on me. I got to get Kyle out to the gym. Thank you all for joining us. I will make a community post as soon tonight as I know whether or not I can actually watch the game, and then there'll be a recap after if I can. And if I can't, it's not even on the radio. It's not even on the radio. So we'll have to see how that all works out. But we're getting close. We're absolutely getting close. So, all right, everybody. Everybody, go enjoy your day. Have a smoke and a Coke for me.